Come on, time for class. Come on. Come on, time. Come on, come on. Good dogs. No, come on. Come on, you're going to be late. Come on. Good boy. Come on. Come on. Good girl. Hi there. Welcome. Good boy. Good boy. I'm Allie Zirkle, and these are some of my Alaskan Husky sled dogs. And we want to welcome you to Husky Homeroom. Today, the title of our lesson is, What's That Smell? What we're going to talk about today is a dog's sense of smell. It's incredible. And we're going to discover why. So, what do you think about that? Have you ever been walking down the trail? You walk down a trail and you have a dog next to you and they smell a tree, they smell a bush, they spend an awful lot of time smelling a little spot of dirt that looks like every other spot of dirt to you and me. I've actually been on the back of a dog sled, 12 dogs, huskies, running down in front of me. And they all put their noses up in the air at the same time, and then they all looked in the other direction. I put my nose in the air and I smelled nothing. Apparently, I didn't get the same memo that they did. I have been around dogs for many, many years in my life, and I will tell you that their sense of smell is the one thing that I have been incredibly jealous about. Imagine, you and I, we still have a sense of smell, don't we? My sister, my husband, my father, we've got a nose and it works okay. I'll tell you, I can walk down a street right in front of a pizza place and have a big whiff and the chemicals go inside of my nose and I can smell it and think, oh my gosh, pepperoni. But, my goodness, a dog's sense of smell is much better than ours. So today, we're going to talk about how that can be possible and why. Why does a dog smell so much better than we do? But before we go too much farther, let's take a close-up and let's meet our two teaching assistants for today's lesson. Okay? All right, well, here we are. My two teaching assistants for today. Oh my gosh, let's not be shy. This red-brown, very good-looking and happy 7-year-old male dog, his name is Sparky. And Sparky, what we like to do here is we like to talk about strengths and weaknesses, because the bottom line is everyone has them, strengths and weaknesses. Sparky, his strength, it's actually pretty awesome. His strength is that he is a goofball. Aren't you, buddy? You're a goofball. Oh, you're going to kiss me. He is an incredible worker as well, but he doesn't really take anything seriously. And what that ends up doing is it lightens the mood of the entire team. Everyone gets happy. Everyone gets upbeat. Now, Sparky is one of our main leaders, but the fact that he's a goofball really helps him out. Now, his minus, everyone has a little bit of a minus. It's interesting, but he actually has a little bit of a stomach problem every now and then. I don't know if you know people who get, a little bit nervous because they're going to have a test or it's about the start of a game or they're going to race and they get a little bit of a stomach problem. Well, Sparky does too. And so what we do is he takes an acid reducer. So that reduces the acid that goes in his stomach and his belly feels better. So that's our Sparky. And now let's meet our little girl here. Excuse me, you're done. The other teaching assistant, she's going to get blocked out of the way. I'll pick her up a little bit. Now this is Cloud. Cloud is a 3-year-old Alaskan Husky. Are you jealous now? All right. Cloud's our 3-year-old, and her strength, you can kind of see it right here. She's got a business-like type attitude. She doesn't really get rocked about much. Nothing really bothers her. She doesn't need a lot of the praise and the good dogs that some of the other dogs do. She's just likes to do her job and her business. Now, her minus is Cloud is a little bit tiny, isn't she? She's one of our smaller dogs. Now, the fact that she's smaller, it's a little bit of a weakness. And the only reason is that we might need to put 1 or 2 more dogs on the team so that we have the same power as we would with just, if it was just Cloud and I, she wouldn't be able to pull me up a hill. I'd have to get off and run. So that's probably her minus, is she's just a little bit small. Anyway, the lesson today, are you ready? Are you ready to talk about it? The lesson today is talking about how these guys smell so well and how is that different than the way that we smell. All right, we've got Cloudy here as our assistant right now. So her sense of smell is controlled by her olfactory system. I was going to try to come up with an easy way to remember this word. Hi, Sparky. Olfactory. So what I did is I looked through a thesaurus and I came up with some other words that mean smelling or the sense of smell. And I came up with some really good words. Aromatic, pungent, malodorous. And I kind of wish that our sense of smell, the system, was named after one of these words because it would be fun, right? But it's not. It's called the olfactory system. So we're just going to have to repeat it a few times through this lesson and then we'll remember it. Are you coming in to help? Okay, come on, buddy. You can come in. Come on. Okay, Spark wants to be part of the program now. So, the olfactory system. Let's look at Spark's nose. Wanna? He obviously wants to be part of the lesson. So if you look at Spark's nose, we'll take a close-up, but it's moist. You're going to lick it for us. It's a good boy. Actually, the moisture part of their noses is very important. It's so important that they will, as you saw, they'll lick their noses if they feel like their nose is too dry. That's because the scents in the air and the air molecules are attracted to the moisture of his nose. So what happens? How does a dog smell? Well, in the air, there are odors floating around in the air. The air then goes up into his nostrils. It goes up into his nostrils, and then he actually has 2 air passages that go down his nose all the way up to about there. They're long passages, and they go all the way up to this part of his head. Right here, buddy, I'm going to point at it. And that is called the olfactory recess. It's a recess right there. And the air that has these molecules of odor in them can be trapped in this recess. In the recess, there are scent receptors. The receptors acknowledge this odor, and it sends a signal into a part of his brain, right about in there. That part of his brain is called the olfactory bulb. So, scents go up his nose, all the way to here, to the recess, to his receptors, and into his brain. Well then, my goodness, his brain gets an awful lot of data sent to it, doesn't it? It actually has a tremendous amount of data. And what do you and I, what does a computer do with data? Well, we have to analyze it. So, this part of his brain, the olfactory bulb, that has its primary job is to analyze the odors. A dog's olfactory bulb in his brain is 40 times larger than mine. So not only does his nose have the ability to suck up all these molecules, but his brain has the ability to analyze all the data that is being brought into it. It's actually an incredible process, the olfactory system. That's what enables Spark to smell so well. Okay, now that we know how a dog smells, how exactly his olfactory system works, what makes a dog's sense of smell different than yours and mine? To examine this, let's talk about 5 interesting facts that dogs have differently than you and I. Okay, number 1 fact is, what do you think, buddy? Dogs use their noses for both breathing and smelling. They can actually separate the air that they're breathing in. Some of it can go into their recess and stay there, and some of it can continue down into their lungs. You and I, we can't do that. So that's one thing. The other really, really nifty thing about our dogs, turn around and show your face, is that he can actually breathe in, inhale, breathe in, buddy, and he can exhale at the same time. What? I can't do that. Can you do that? Nope, I can't do it. So what he can do is he can breathe in and he can breathe out. What he does is he breathes in the large holes at the front of his nostril. And he exhales through these side slits so that he can actually breathe in and breathe out at the same time. What that does is that enables him to, say an area smells really good, and he just wants to keep breathing over and over, bring as much sense to him as he possibly can. Well, he can sniff up to 5 times a second and be able to exhale at the same time. I can't sniff 5 times a second. I would get lightheaded if I sniffed 5 times a second for too long. So that's number 2. He can breathe in and out at the same time. Number 3, Cloudy, you want to talk about it? Do ya? He's kind of pushing you out of the way. Number 3 is dogs actually, come here, you can be the center of attention. Dogs actually smell in 3D. What do I mean by that? Does that mean that I go to a Marvel movie and we put Marvel 3D glasses on their nose? No. What that means is that their noses, they actually are, their nostrils on each side, the right and the left side, are separate. They're completely separate and they act independently. So when Cloudy smells something on the right side of her nose, it acts like a compass. And she'll smell something on the right side, it'll go up her right passage, and she'll know 3-dimensionally that it's over on the right. If she smells something in her left nostril, they'll know it's off to the left, as well as up and down and all around. So these guys smell in 3 dimension. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, the 4th thing is, that's pretty neat too. They can actually smell the passage of time. What? What do you mean by that? What I mean by that is that they can tell how long it's been since, say, a poodle walked down the trail in front of them. That's because they can tell that the scent has diminished over time. Let's go back to that pizza place that I walked by before. Now, when I walked by that pizza place, I took my smell and I thought, ooh, pizza. Well, if Spark were to walk by the same pizza place, he could smell and he could tell, oh, a pepperoni pizza was cooked a couple days ago. An onion pizza just went out the door 2 hours ago. And oh my goodness, they had an anchovy pizza a week ago. He could tell how long ago each one of those scents were left. That's an amazing amount of data that their olfactory system can deal with. All right, the last thing, number 5, that kind of is the difference between dogs and human beings, silly dog, is that some dogs, maybe Spark, who wants a belly rub now, good boy, Spark, and certainly Cloud, they can smell up to 100,000 times better than you and I. Huh? 100,000 times better? I can't even comprehend what that means. I mean, can you? I have one analogy for you. So, I drink a cup of coffee every single morning, an 8-ounce cup of coffee. Now, I don't put sugar in my coffee, but a lot of people do. Now, let's say they're having coffee with me and they by accidentally put 1 teaspoon of sugar in my cup of coffee. Well, I'd pick up my cup of coffee and I'd smell it before I tasted it and I'd say, there's sugar in my coffee. Well, Spark here, the same coffee analogy. Now, if you put 1 teaspoon of sugar into 100,000 cups of coffee, Spark here could smell it. Now, obviously, you can't separate that much sugar into all those cups of coffee. So, I will tell you that 100,000 cups of coffee will fill more than an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So Spark here could tell me, hey, Allie, don't go swimming in that swimming pool. There's a teaspoon of sugar in it. That's how good a dog's nose is. It's incredible. So we've learned quite a bit about a dog's olfactory system, haven't we? But before we're done, let's look a little bit closer about yours and my sense of smell. Because even though it's not as impressive as a dog's, it's still very, very important. So, first of all, our sense of smell, it can alert us to fires, poisonous fumes, leaking gas, spoiled food. It can stop us from entering dangerous areas or putting something into our mouth that might be bad for us. The other thing is that it actually enables us to experience pleasure, such as the aroma of walking by the pizza place and thinking, oh, I get to eat pepperoni tonight. So that's one thing that is really a plus for our human olfactory system. The second thing is that our sense of smell is linked to our very complex brains. Some smells actually trigger feelings and thoughts from your past. It's really pretty interesting. And that's why sometimes when you smell something, it brings back memories or you start thinking about the past. Where I am out on a dog team and where I find a campfire smell, I'll be out mushing and I'll mush by a campfire and I actually get a warm and cozy feeling because I spent so much time out in the wilderness sitting around campfires. So whenever I smell one, I think, oh, I'm warm and cozy, even if I'm not. So that's always pretty neat that your smells are linked to the memories of your brain. The third thing that you always kind of have to remember is that when you have a cold, your nose is stuffed up. and you can't smell very well. Well, this is because the chemicals that are floating around in the air that carry smell, they actually can't reach your olfactory receptors. They're blocked away from them. So your brain never actually gets the data. All right, and number 4, lastly, and this goes for dogs and human beings, is that individuals actually smell differently. They have a different ability and capacity to smell. Now, different dog breeds smell differently, and individual humans smell differently. Just because Spark can smell sugar in a swimming pool or I can smell pepperoni doesn't mean that everyone has the same ability. So this is the end of our olfactory lesson, our lesson on the sense of smell. And I hope that you learned how a dog actually does smell, from his nose or her nose all the way up through her nasal passages and into his brain. It's been really interesting to compare dogs to humans. While we have many similarities, we also have many differences. If you found this lesson interesting, and obviously I did, you can have some fun at home with some small sense of smells experiments on your own. Like you can test your friends and your family's ability to identify odors like ripe bananas, vanilla, cinnamon, lemon, and my favorite, coffee. Then you can mix 2 of these odors together and you can see which of these people can actually pick out 2 odors while they're mixed together. Anyway, this is all about discovery, exploration, and learning. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Cloud, why don't you say goodbye? You've been kind of pushed out of the way. Cloudy wanted to say goodbye. And thanks for joining us at Husky Homeroom. Say bye, Cloudy.